All right, welcome back to a new episode of the Cardinal Country Podcast. On episode 7 here, I'm going to be talking to several members of the Michigan Center High School Band. Reminder that now the podcast can be found on the school website under the Community tab. That would be on like the district homepage. Or if you go on YouTube or SoundCloud and just search Cardinal Country Podcast, you can find it on both of those applications too. And SoundCloud, in case you're not familiar with that one, that is an app for your Android or Apple phone. Okay, so down to business. This episode, we're going to be talking to Junior Kienutske, who's been in band since he was in 6th grade. He's a baritone in regular band, trombone, and jazz band. He's a member of the MCHS, the Quiz Bowl team, and he runs track and field. Emily Pepper is also a junior. She plays clarinet in regular band, guitar in jazz band. She's a quad in the drumline and a member of the National Honor Society. And she bowls through the wintertime and in spring is a member of the softball team. And last up, we have senior Corey Ahrens, who is a trombone in regular band. He is the snare and drumline and captain of the drumline, a member of the National Honor Society. He bowls in the winter and plays baseball in the spring. So how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good?
Good.
I'm doing good.
Glad to have you guys in here. Thanks for taking a little time out of your day. It sounds like you're all quite busy and got a lot on your plate. So I did not get any musical talent in my family. Like my brother, I played football and wrestled. That was kind of the athletics were more like my niche. My brother was the opposite. He was in drumline. He was a captain of the drumline. He was in band. Later on after high school, he played like bass guitar. He's got all the musical talent. And I've always felt like, man, how do you keep it straight? Because all of you play multiple instruments. To me, it seems like, man, I would get so confused trying to like play different instruments. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, for me, I don't really get the instruments mixed up because they're so different from each other, and it's a lot of the same stuff. It doesn't get confusing in my mind.
Yeah, the thing is with the two instruments that I play, the trombone and the baritone really aren't that different. Like the mouthpiece and everything that you have to like your mouth structure to play the instrument is like all the same. So that's basically how I learned how to play it. And I don't really remember learning how to play the baritone. It's just something I've kind of always felt like I've known how to do.
It's one of those things then, so it's like once you kind of develop the skill, is it just, would you say it's like in your muscle memory?
Yeah.
And okay. Because I can relate that to different like football and wrestling techniques that it's like, I'll tell my guys in wrestling, like, you got to hit this move like 1,000 times and go through it in slow-mo. And then after a while, it's like when you get out there in a match, ideally, you don't even think about it.
Yep.
So is it the same kind of thing? All right. I went through and the only musical background I have was recorders. You guys remember those?
Yeah.
My son just came home with one here like a week ago. He's in 4th grade. Anyway, I made it through 5th grade recorders most of the class, but flunked out at some point, and that was the end of my musical career.
Your playlist is pretty good though.
Do I have a good playlist?
Yeah, you have
All
a good
right,
playlist.
yeah. I love music, and it's like almost like a magical skill to me. When I see somebody playing an instrument, I'm like, wow. I'm so impressed by it, and I'm like, because to me it seems so difficult. But man, I don't know. Like, how much of it would you guys say, and anybody can answer this, how much of it is a natural knack for doing it, and how much of it is practice? What would you say like the ratio is, like, or for any of you personally?
Well, for me personally, it becomes more natural than to practice because I personally don't practice as much as I probably should. But I don't know. I feel like it comes more naturally, just depending on who you are.
So you feel, as Corey talking, that it's just kind of like a natural skill that you kind of had a knack, an inclination. Your brain's wired that way.
Yeah.
You could do it. Yeah,
See,
that's cool.
With me, it's a little bit of the opposite because I'm not good at like singing and I'm not good at anything like that. And I like when I went into band, I was like, I don't think I'd be very good at that because I'm not usually good at that. Like if I picked up like a rhythm instrument or like a drum, I could not do that at all. But I don't know. I just kind of fell into doing the baritone.
Yeah, like I saw it in my house growing up. My brother, he played multiple instruments, and I was always like, man, he could just keep it all straight and just kind of, I think his brain was kind of wired that way, and I always wished I would have had that talent too, but I also think it was totally, I was a little bit lazy too. Like I should have, if I would have really wanted to and applied myself, I feel like I could have practiced myself up. And yeah, I was just curious how much you thought. Like, Emily, what would you say? Do you kind of have a natural talent for it, or is it
Yeah.
all
Well,
practice?
my dad plays guitar,
Okay.
so like I was growing up like listening to guitar and listening to music and everything, and like especially with the instruments that I play, like playing drums is not easy, and you just kind of have to know. You have to have some things just can't like be taught to people. So that's kind of it's natural.
A natural talent, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's cool that you had a parent that was involved in it too. Like neither of my parents were, so I don't know where my brother got it from because he was kind of the first in our family to, have that musical talent. So yeah, cool. All right, so next up, another question, kind of piggybacking off that. Like, I've always been amazed by band teachers that they have, you know what I mean? How many instruments are in the regular band? There's quite a few.
There's quite a few.
Yeah, I don't even think I could.
Yeah, a lot. You couldn't. I mean, it's many, like dozens. How does Kienutske go about like teaching all that? I've always thought like, man, it seems like that would be one of the most difficult and challenging classes to instruct. Does she go through and give individualized attention to like every student at different points in time, or how does that work? What would like an average day in band class or average week? What would kind of be the breakdown?
Well, usually like sections, like there's like low brass and like woodwinds and stuff, and they usually like mix together with the different songs that we play. So like she doesn't, I mean, sometimes she calls out like specific sections, but most of the time it just all bunches together. So it's
Gotcha.
like like trombone, tuba, all those usually have the same kind of parts.
I feel like something that she has to do is have like a lot of patience because like with that many people, you can expect her to like know how to help everyone at the time, but she can have like the patience to be able to be like, oh, I can help you with this and I can help you with this, and she has like the knowledge to know like, oh, should we focus on these small little things and look at the big group picture? I feel like
Sure.
I'd like to also say as well, she has a lot of leaders in the band that take charge, like the upperclassmen and even some underclassmen. They take the charge of helping each like individual person in their section or their low brass woodwinds, and they take the time to help out, so it makes her job a lot
Oh, that's
easier.
got to make all the difference. And you guys, I think, would all be leaders in the band too. Like, so that is, and I see that from a coaching angle. That's so important to have like senior leaders and upperclassmen leaders that can pass that skill along. It makes the job of the instructor so much easier. So like occasionally, I guess kind of going back to like a sports analogy to make sense to me, it would be like in football practice, you might have the linemen break off one way and the wide receivers break off one way, and then she'll kind of give each unit some individualized attention. Is that how it would work?
Yeah.
And then-
especially for like marching band, that's how.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then other times you'd come together as a whole group and put it all together. Very cool. All right, so next up, Hawk, why don't you tell me a little bit about like what's coming up with Jazz Band? Do you have any trips? Like, give me the what, when, where, all that stuff of what's on the horizon.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up for Jazz Band. Like on December 8th, we have our Jazz Band winter performance at St. Aidan's. It's at like 9 to 10 at St. Aidan's. We play like 10 to like 12 songs there. And then we have the high school concert on December 11th. That's a Tuesday. And then we also have a Jazz Band performance at Bigby Coffee. That's my favorite. That's like you can get coffee and everything.
Which Bigby?
Which one is it?
The one on our side of
the one
town?
by Dollar General.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
By Meyer.
So that one's pretty good. And then we also have some band events coming up too. We have the Michigan Center Holiday Parade, which is November 24th. So that's coming up like next week, I think. Yeah. And then.
So before Thanksgiving?
Yep.
Okay.
No, it's after.
after.
Right
the
after
weekend.
the week after? Okay.
Weekend of Thanksgiving. And then we also have Solo and Ensemble. I don't have the exact date for that, but that's where like different kids will go and play like solos and stuff like that.
Sure. Very good, man.
Yeah.
How about, like, do you have any Christmas concerts coming up? Anybody in the group can take that. I'm talking about just, like, regular band now. Do you guys do a Christmas concert? I thought,
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Our
we
Christmas
do.
concert is on Tuesday, December 11th. And
That'll have the jazz band.
Yeah, that's why.
and the jazz
whole
band's
high
featured in it.
school
Okay,
band.
so
Yep.
you would hit that as part of it there. Gotcha now. All right. Can you guys recap, and this one could go to Corey or Emily, like recap what is Cardinals on Parade? And there was something like a glow-in-the-dark event. That was some things that had already gone down, I believe, right?
Yeah. So Cardinals on Parade is basically the high school band's chance to play their marching band show on the stage for all of the parents of all the grades.
Gotcha.
The 7th and 8th grade bands were able to perform their songs they've been working on since the beginning of the school year. And as well as the drumline. The drumline, we had a glow-in-the-dark show this year, and it worked out very well.
How's that work? So are you in the auditorium with no lights on?
Yeah, we went into the auditorium and we turned all the lights off, and we had some glow-in-the-dark tape, and we bought
Neat.
some glow stick glasses and glow sticks.
So you guys are up there glowing, and like all the lights are off, so everybody can see you guys up there glowing, and you're playing
Yeah.
your instruments, and you can play your instruments in the dark.
Yeah.
Muscle memory, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, that's awesome. Man, I would really like to see that. Like, I feel like that's a cool idea. Is that the first year you've ever done the glow in the dark?
It's the first time I've ever done it, but we might be bringing it back, so stay tuned.
It sounds like that would be something to bring back around. And I've always heard of like the Cardinals on Parade thing, because that's been going on for years,
Yeah,
right?
it's a very big event.
Yeah.
The auditorium is like packed.
There was like
Right
standing
on.
room only this year.
Wow,
there
that's
was
cool.
so many people there, yeah.
So that's awesome. Good turnout then.
Yeah,
Things are booming
really
for the
good.
band.
It's one of our best concerts. Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. When was that again? When did you? Maybe you said it, but
It was about a month ago.
About a month back.
It was in October.
so does that usually hit like kind of the end of football season?
Yeah.
Would be roughly like the end of marching band season is when that would go down. All right. All right. Now, you guys have obviously like super busy schedules with all the band stuff going on. How does this work? Maybe explain for anybody that's listening that is not in band, or any of our younger kids that are coming up into high school and thinking about doing it. Like, obviously there's a lot of time outside of school, but you have it as a class in school. So what I'm kind of asking is, do you get credit for band? Do you get credit for these different band classes? And is it also like an extracurricular, like a sport would be? You know what I'm saying? Like, so how does that all break down?
Well, band is a high school credit for people in high school, and it counts as a credit towards your graduation. Drumline is more of an extracurricular. It's usually after school on a Thursday, and we practice for about an hour or so. And as well as marching band, it's not technically, you do it during high school band, but sometimes our after school practices, you have to make a time commitment. And even if you play sports, Ms. Tupsky does her best to try to work around it.
Okay. So, yeah, I know she does that because she has worked with guys that I've coached before and has always been super flexible. And
Yeah.
that's something we try to
She
support
did
too.
the same with football players as well.
Yeah, that's really cool of her. So it is kind of, basically it's a hybrid type
Yeah.
activity where you do get some credit in school that would count towards graduation, and it would count as an extracurricular. Can you earn like a varsity letter in band?
Technically, yeah. You don't get a varsity letter in band for like a sport, but you get a varsity letter that says band, like a band varsity letter that says
Got it.
band on the letter. And a new thing they added for incoming freshman and sophomore, that if you do marching band, it is a half credit of gym as a gym credit. So if you do marching band for 2 years, you get your whole gym credit taken away.
Because you are out there marching, carrying a tuba or something like that. Would get a little exhausting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's a good way for the school to work with you, because like putting band on your schedule, that's obviously can eat up a big chunk of your day. Are some of you in band more than 1 hour a day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like jazz
Yeah.
band is 5th hour, and then we also have regular band 2nd hour. So like for me, I actually had to like change up my schedule so I could do both. But I really like jazz band, and I wasn't gonna like drop
Yeah.
that. So
So that's going to eat up a lot of your
Yeah.
your, how would I want to say that, your elective classes. That would kind of eat
Yes.
that slate up. And then gym is a requirement for freshmen, but then after that you can take gym as an elective, but like that would get kind of eliminated out for you guys, wouldn't it?
it's
as an
fine though. I
option?
love jazz band.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right. It sounds like you got a lot of good stuff going on. So like that brings me to, how do you guys feel? Is it hard balancing band? And I know all of you play different sports and have other things going on too. And I know Miss Natupsky, you already said like she will work with the other coaches and is flexible. But is it hard doing that balancing act? And each one of you can kind of talk on that.
I mean, at the beginning of the school year for me, it was a little bit difficult because I was also working at the time. So I had my job, and then I had all like the marching band things coming up. Well, at the point I wasn't doing any sports, but it was a little bit difficult because all my weekends were taken up, and then during the weekdays I had like homework and everything, so I didn't have much time. But I've gotten used to it now, and plus I'm not working anymore, so now I have more time to go out and do things. And as long as you work like in class, you don't have to take as much time outside of class to be working on the things.
Sure.
So like you didn't hear this from me, but like my favorite time doing band is after marching band, just because like marching band isn't my favorite thing to do.
Uh-huh.
But the reason why I didn't like it is because we would have like these things on like Fridays, like the Friday games, and we would be like up really late. And then like my job, I walk at like 8 a.m. So like that kind of sucks. But like, it's worth it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. It's a time of life where you should be busy. You
Yeah.
should have a lot on your
Yeah.
plate. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like to comment on that as well, but it's just, you have to be able to have the commitment to school as well as sports, because you have to keep your grades up academically to play the sports. And I do agree that with Emily that the teachers, you should be able to get it done in class most of the time, but if you take it outside of class, I recommend doing it like as soon as you get home, because like the more time you have to practice your sport or do anything else. So like this season when I played football this year for the first time, it was pretty fun, but I had to continue with my studies even after practice, and even though you'd be exhausted.
It's all about discipline, right? Making those priorities and getting through and boom, boom, hitting everything out. Here's a question for you that just popped into my head. Like in athletics, we have eligibility. If you don't keep your grades up, boom, you can't participate. Does band have that too? Like if you were in, say, jazz band or drumline, but the difference is it's a class actually in your day, so how does that
that's what
work?
I was gonna say. The thing is, it's actually a grade. So like if you miss like marching band things, you can actually like get like marked down on it. That's why it's like it's not like an eligibility thing, because it is by itself like a grade. So
That makes sense, because you wouldn't have a class that's like football class or wrestling class.
Yeah.
But you do have band.
As well as drumline, pretty much the same thing, but if you don't learn the show by like a certain time, then we try to say you need to learn it or you can't play in the show. So we have to try to make things.
So you have certain requirements, like you have to be like competent in this skill set to participate.
Yep.
And gotcha. And like if you didn't, would that drop your grade if you hadn't met your deadline to, or how does that work? Or do you just get more practice?
Drumline more, because that's more of an extracurricular. So it's kind of like we run ourselves, and Antepsky is just the person in charge. But for drumline, we kind of like as all the members, we kind of take control of it. Like if you don't know, we try to talk to you and help you out. So
Sure.
But then again, if we have like practices and advisory and people have like homework to do or something, like we're not gonna force them to come to drumline practice if they have academic stuff to do first.
Gotcha. So kind of the academics comes first,
Yeah.
and then like a thing like drumline would be more of an extracurricular, and that's
like something that we just did, that was a pretty big like grade. Like we did like playing tests to see who gets like the best parts in the music, who gets the solos and stuff. But that was like out of 80 points, and that's like an actual grade that goes into like the grade book and stuff. So
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks for coming in, guys. I mean, I will say I 100% feel way more educated on band now, because there has been a lot of things that I like I've heard, and I like our band. I think Miss Natowski does a really good job. I see the marching band, but I think I have the perspective that a lot of like other teachers and students and community members that are not on the inside would have, that like, man, that's a really cool thing they do, but I don't really get the ins and outs, the nuts and bolts of it. And thanks for taking a little time out of your day and explain it to me. Do any of you have any final thoughts or any closing comments before we sign off?
well, I'd like to bring back the whole teaching thing with Miss Natowski. Most people don't know our band is just about almost 80 kids this year.
That's a lot
So
of kids for
it's
one.
a
Yeah.
lot of kids
Wow.
for one teacher, and she does pretty well with it. So
That is incredible. Like some years my numbers are up, but I mean numbers up for me in U.S. history are like 35 kids in a class, or even 30 is kind of high and a normal number that I would have in classes. But man, 80 just seems like, wow, that's bonkers. That's a lot of kids. And I'll say anytime I go in there, there's not kids screwing around or anything. Like everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, maybe there is a little screw up time at times. That's true in any class. But like she always seems to be running a tight ship, and that's super impressive with that many kids.
Yeah, one last thing I was gonna say is those jazz band like events that I talked about, like that's not just for the parents and the family. Like there's like a bunch of like other like our friends and people like that will come, like especially to Big B, like they'll come get coffee, they'll listen to the jazz band. So like anybody's welcome to come and listen to us at those events.
For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll hit you there. I really like Big B coffee, so
yeah, we encourage you.
Good deal. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Cardinal Country Podcast. Reminder, we can be found on the district homepage under the community tab. All episodes are loaded up there first. Then we're also on YouTube and SoundCloud. If you don't have SoundCloud yet, go download it. It works on Android and Apple. It's a really cool free app, and you can access the podcast on there. And I believe if you set it up right, you can subscribe and it'll send you updates. That works for YouTube or SoundCloud. So again, on either of those two applications, you just search Cardinal Country Podcast, and we'll try to have one or two coming out each week. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future interviews, please hit me up, Jared Taluki at jared.tylutki@mccardinals.org. Thank you, and see you next time.